Although Call of Duty Warzone 2 introduces the new Al Mazrah map, it integrates both new and iconic locations together to serve as a crucible for the Battle Royale's big overhaul to a lot of the core features, and the introduction of Modern Warfare 2's mechanics and movement. The end result is mixed, with some of the new additions making the moment-to-moment action feel fresh, while updates to other classic Warzone features feel like a step back for the Battle Royale title. Warzone 2's 150-player skirmishes of solo, duo, trio, and quad combatants are played out on the new Al Mazrah map. The fictional desert region in Western Asia does a great job of combining new Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer maps with several nostalgic locations that longtime Call of Duty fans will recognize, and every location, old or new, blends together to create a vibrant and beautiful environment. In comparison to Modern Warfare's Verdansk map, Al Mazrah feels more diverse, with its mixture of arid desert, large bodies of water, tight cities, and exposed small towns. Water was very limited in the original Warzone because Modern Warfare lacks swimming mechanics, but the sequel brings over all the features and mechanics of Modern Warfare 2, which means that large bodies of water, boats, and swimming are now added to the mix, and they're meaningful additions that give you fresh ways to take on fights in Warzone 2. Being able to dive away from a bad gunfight or use it for stealth to flank an opponent in particular adds a new kind of dynamism to engagements. There's also a much better balance with how the map is designed. Although vast, Verdansk's Stadium and Caldera's Peak weighted the focus to those massive landmarks, making them choke points of sorts. Al Mazrah, however, doesn't have a similar focal point that's hard to traverse around like the aforementioned locations. Instead, there's a great mix of environments with buildings for close quarters action, but also a lot of open sightlines for sniping. Thankfully, these spacious areas don't leave you too vulnerable when passing through them, as there are plenty of large rocks and other things to use as cover, so rotating from point to point doesn't always feel like a struggle. One of the major gameplay changes Warzone 2 introduces is a brand new circle mechanic. Instead of one large circle, there are multiple micro circles appearing at once. There can be up to 3 of these smaller circles active in any given match, but eventually these all merge back together for the final circle. Although unconventional for the Battle Royale genre, this approach does add a bit more spice to the mid-game action of Warzone matches. On Verdansk or Caldera, matches would quickly turn into players camping, to wait out further circle collapses. Al Mazrah's micro circles force players together into condensed locations earlier to offer you more engagements leading up to the final circle collapse. This simple change ensures matches feel engaging and like something is always happening. While microcircles are a smart and welcome change, the same can't be said of Warzone 2's revamped Gulag. Sadly, Al Mazrah comes with an overly complex and much larger Gulag arena, which often puts your fate in someone else's hands. The Gulag is no longer a simple 1v1 arena, and instead, your first death will transport you to a multi-level arena where you fight in 2v2 matches while temporarily paired up with another random player. The original Gulag was an exciting way to give you a second chance, provided you had the skills to win the 1v1 fight. But this new 2v2 twist leaves your fate partially in a random player's hands. Although this Gulag does utilize the game's proximity chat feature, someone like me who sits in party chats with friends or squad mates will find themselves struggling to communicate with a temporary duo partner. And if they, or you, die, the odds of survival become much more grim for the surviving player.
There is no one left to fight. Stand by for redeployment.
Al Mazrah also features the addition of the new Stronghold and Black Site loot locations. At the end of the first circle collapse, Strongholds are activated on the map, and there are 77 random locations that the Strongholds can appear. However, there will only ever be 3 on the map at once. Strongholds are marked on the map as a large castle icon, and the first team to reach one must defuse a bomb there before a timer expires. Otherwise, the objective for the remaining Strongholds is to clear out a specific number of enemies. Completing these will reward you with items like your loadout, kill streaks, gas masks, and such. You can go for an even greater challenge with black sites, which are basically just an even more dangerous form of Strongholds. A black site is marked on the map with a skull icon and contains considerably tougher armored enemies, including a Juggernaut boss. It's also an enticing place to conquer for the in-game loot you receive for use in the match itself, which means it can turn this location into a major power point with all the high-end loot and intel it offers. Looting feels more natural to the environment in Warzone 2. Cash can be looted from cash registers, while health supplies are found in places like first aid kits in bathrooms and ambulances. It's much easier to find the item that you need because you can look in specific places that make sense instead of relying on the randomness of supply crates. Warzone also adds a simplified backpack system that feels like a hybrid of Black Ops 4's Blackout Battle Royale and the original Warzone. You can start with a small pack that has 6 inventory slots, but you can loot or purchase a pack that has more. At first, having a backpack to stow and pull items from seems like a hassle, because you can often find yourself hiding somewhere rummaging through your pack to drop or add items, feeling vulnerable in the process. However, it's actually really convenient to be able to carry more supplies. It's nice to know you can lug around an extra stack of armor plates for yourself, or that one teammate who never loots well enough.
Armor pouch marked.
However, this approach does pave the way for some potentially annoying situations too, such as having a backpack full of one item. There are opportunities to spam certain items if you're able to collect enough of them, and this could have a negative impact in late game scenarios. Just like Blackout, there is now a rare 3-tier armor item. By default, you'll only be able to carry 2 armor plates and will now need to loot a 3-plate vest to equip a 3rd one. This is a bit disappointing because the original Warzone steered away from having the rarity levels of armor to keep everyone in an equal playing field, with the option for anyone to have 3 plates at any given time. Now, whether or not you can have 3 plates depends on your luck of looting or purchasing the 3-tier upgrade at a buy station. Loadout drops return for Warzone 2, and they can still drop at any time between the 2nd and 6th circle collapses, but they are no longer specifically reserved for a specific player or squad. Anyone can grab any loadout drop that hits the map. On the one hand, you can no longer see your specific loadout and gauge how many enemies might be in the area. As before, if your loadout drop was stacked near 3 or 4 others, you were in greater danger than if your loadout dropped alone. On the other hand, I think it's more important to have the freedom to pick and choose what drop you want to grab, especially when your specific loadout could drop in a location that wouldn't be safe or reachable. Warzone's buy stations now have their own unique collection of items to purchase, as opposed to every station having the exact same items. You can even buy your custom primary weapon at a buy station, and while the purchases don't include a full loadout with a secondary weapon, lethals, and perks, it's nice to be able to at least get one reliable weapon in your hands. It's great having a bigger selection of items to purchase with more lethal and tactical items. But be careful of your reliance on these items, as there is a limited quantity of items that can be bought at each station. That means someone could come along with tons of cash and buy all the UAVs. It's also worth noting that vehicle play is better than ever in Warzone, thanks to the addition of Modern Warfare 2's maneuverability options. It's so easy to squat up and hang on the sides of vehicles for a quick ride, although you'll need to refuel to keep using those vehicles. Overall, vehicle combat feels less daunting and more exciting and situational here with these new ways to counter them. Finally, Warzone 2 also pairs Modern Warfare 2's movement with the same fast time to kill in multiplayer. I really enjoyed the dialed back and classic feel to the movement this year, but the quick time to kill means there's considerably less time to react to situations. It's so easy to peek your head out of a building or come around a corner and get deleted by an enemy.
Gas is merging. Expect contact.
Warzone's gunfights often felt best after the health cap or armor was slightly raised to give players more of a fighting chance, when there could be a push and pull between combatants. Thankfully, most of my complaints about Warzone 2 are things that could easily be adjusted in future updates. Al Mazrah comes out the gate as a balanced and diversified map that feels like a huge step up from Caldera, and dare I say it, even from Verdansk. With the fresh circle mechanics and Strongholds being paired with the solid gunplay, mechanics, and movement from Modern Warfare 2, this could be a really great year for Warzone.
Mission accomplished. All targets eliminated.
Another major addition to Warzone 2 is DMZ mode, which puts Call of Duty style spin on the extraction shooter genre. This mode has a max of 66 players in trios on Warzone's Al Mazrah map, where they're tasked with fighting, looting, and extracting. There are objectives you can complete for XP and cash, but ultimately the fun of DMZ is getting to choose how you want to play. You can load into a match with the intent of looting cash and weapons, playing aggressively and seeking out gunfights, or you can try to complete specific objectives for extra XP and rewards. While DMZ doesn't have the overall tactical feel of other extraction shooters like Escape from Tarkov and Hunt Showdown, it still has the thrills of a high-risk, high-reward game mode. You can keep all the weapons and loot earned for a successful extraction, while also losing everything if you die before extracting. You're also limited to how many items you can carry, so it can quickly become a game of deciding what items to keep in your backpack and what loot should be left behind before extracting. DMZ utilizes many features and mechanics from Warzone 2, including the new Stronghold locations, buy stations, AI, and more. AI enemies are found all throughout the map, but they feel more appropriate here in this objective style mode than they do in Battle Royale. There are recruit, easy level AIs that can be found scattered around in buildings in various locations, but the AI opponents at strongholds or objective areas are often armored and much more challenging to fight for the high tier loot. I don't think a Battle Royale needs AI outside of locations like strongholds, but it really works well for DMZ, as the various levels of bots keep you engaged in the action from objective to objective, and they fill out the world a bit more. The buy stations generally look and work the same as they do in Warzone 2, but in DMZ you can sell items you scavenge for extra cash, with the only complaint here being the buy station's new interface. DMZ also utilizes Warzone's new Stronghold feature, but this one is a bit different than the Battle Royale version, as these require locating keycards to fit the questing nature of DMZ. While most of DMZ's features and mechanics are from Warzone, one convenient addition that's exclusive to DMZ is an easier way to get your squad mates back into the fight. You can revive eliminated squad mates at their death location at any time in the match, meaning there are no trips to a buy station to purchase their return. Dead teammates are marked as a blue health icon, and there is no time limit or any additional steps needed to return teammates to a match. DMZ also allows players to complete contracts, faction missions, and random activities that can happen throughout the match. Contracts are given by one of 3 factions in DMZ: Legion, White Lotus, or Black Mouse. These faction missions have increasing levels of difficulty and a wide variety, so while a huge grind to complete them all, they're very rewarding and assure you always have plenty to do. Regardless of whether you choose to complete faction missions or you have another goal planned for your time in DMZ, there will be random occurrences and activities happening during the match, and some of the mode's charms comes from these. For example, you can use drills to open safes and score tons of cash for useful items like UAVs, but it comes at the risk of making a ton of noise and alerting nearby enemies. Or you can trigger a SAM turret, which will shoot down a plane carrying a supply drop, but again, it's at the cost of enemies hearing the action and wanting to fight you for the loot. Activities like these seem simple, but they can quickly turn dicey. DMZ is definitely in an interesting and enjoyable sandbox mode, and it gives you more ways to play, unlock guns, and level up with XP. Activision never marketed this as a Call of Duty take on Escape from Tarkov or any other extraction game, but those comparisons were quickly drawn by the community. However, you don't want to go into this mode with that expectation, as it doesn't quite have the same grittiness and tactical feel as those other games. DMZ plays more like an objective-based Warzone LTM, with the option to exfil at any time. The overall success of this mode depends on what future updates bring. As is, the world feels alive and objectives are mostly fun to complete, but I can see DMZ getting old unless we see seasonal updates that add new missions, features, special events, and other layers to the experience and keep DMZ feeling fresh. This is definitely a mode that leaves tons of room for expansion. My time with both Battle Royale and DMZ was played on PlayStation 5, and this was a much smoother launch than I expected with Modern Warfare 2's crashing and freezing. However, other players have reported experiencing crashes, freezes, and stuttering issues. Warzone 2 comes out swinging with the strongest map yet, as Al Mazrah's design is both visually appealing and well balanced to encourage more moment-to-moment action and player movement. The sequel tosses in enough new features and changes to make gameplay feel fresh and give a dramatic change to the game's pace to set Warzone 2 apart from the original. And the Battle Royale matches are still a blast, despite the setbacks to classic features. Packaged with DMZ, which feels like a sandbox hit, free-to-play Call of Duty players have so many more ways to jump into the action and level up this year.